Right, we are jumping straight into this, bro. There's no intro, there's no preparation. Let me
I
flame
don't
you,
even
okay?
like the look on his face right now. I don't like
I'm
the glasses. The
disgusted.
glasses are not even. They're not. He's not even trying to. By the way, he's not even trying to be cool or nothing. I just don't like the look on his smug face right now already.
Do you know what the worst thing is here? Is that what now you're doing AEW poses? I can't believe this. Do you know what the
Listen,
worst thing is? Is nepotism has won again. And I thought that we had left this behind in the Vince McMahon era, considering we have so many talented female wrestlers that probably the best female roster we've ever had through NXT and WWE. And somehow, this woman who has already won it before and has won 14 world titles is now going into the main event to potentially derail Tiffy or Rhea. How are we happy about this?
One other thing. This is the same man below us right now who literally tried to tell me, "Oh, no. Charlotte won't just get whisked back into the main event. It's Vince's era. It's over. He was Vince's girl." I literally called that out from the moment he said that. Now look where we are months later.
And you know what? I want to stress as well that not only did Charlotte come back and win the Rumble, not only was she given pyro like nobody else was, so that basically took us all out of the match immediately. But if you notice, she still had a knee brace on. So this woman could potentially get injured again because she was holding her knee and she's won the Royal Rumble, so she's booked her ticket to WrestleMania. Meanwhile, you had Io Sky there, and you could have thrown Roxanne into that, and I would have been like, cool, she's a new wrestler, she's already proven herself in NXT, let's go. But you put Charlotte in there. I want to hear what this guy, this destroyer of good things, has to say.
Charlotte's enforcer, the stamp stories, one and only. Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you both doing? Have you got your tears out your
Clearly
way?
not good. Clearly not
You
good.
damn well know how I'm doing.
All right, listen. I don't know why there's so much emotion in this gathering. So let's just take things one step at a time. Okay. First things first. Let's address the situation. Hollow, are you a man of your word and going to keep up your end of the bet, or are you backing out of that? Let me
No,
check
I'll
that
keep on
first.
my end of the bet. The bet was you wanted what 5 gift memberships if Charlotte eliminated EO had to buy you WWTK. Thank God, even though that spot that EO was eliminated in was absolutely awful, and whoever wrote that should
Lazy.
be fired.
Lazy.
Did you watch
Lazy.
that? EO was not actually even really involved in that. She just let go of the rope because she had to for the spot. But yes, you can get your memberships whenever you get it on your channel.
Whenever I get to that YouTube status, right? Okay, fine. That's the first thing I wanted to check because I was going through the WhatsApp conversations that I heard you me say I'm not even honoring that deal. So I'm glad cooler heads have prevailed here. You are a man of your word. Now, you want to hear from me and my thoughts. I understand. Let me
Not
ask.
really.
Not really. Listen, we can skip over this if we don't have to. But then
I mean, we'll
what
do
I
it for
don't
the
want
sake
to
of the
do,
channel.
I don't want to get into in order to make Charlotte, justify why, in my opinion, her winning was the right decision. I don't want to kick Io's back in because let's say this from the rip. I think Io's great. Okay. And I don't want to put the two together. So are we looking at this from an emotional or we look at this from a logical point of view for Charlotte winning? I want to understand,
Both.
is this emotion or logic? Let's
Both.
pick one. It's not
Both.
both. No, you can't put both together because then
It is
eventually we're using
literally
logic
both.
and then
But
emotion comes into it and you're not thinking straight.
Nah, I'll let
for
Miller
me,
go
it's literally
first,
both.
and yeah, Miller, you go first, and then I'll.
Okay. So for me, the reason why I can say it's both is I'm not of the opinion that Charlotte is head and shoulders above every other woman in that roster to the point where only she can put on a main event status level where everyone can go home happy. I'm not under that belief. I don't think that the gap is so huge that only she can bloody do it. Now, the reason why I can say there's logic behind what I'm saying is there were so many opportunities to do something for someone else. We know Charlotte already. We damn well know Charlotte's great. Fine. That's not the issue here. It's the fact that you've got one person in me who was like, listen, I don't even know who I want to win. I just know who I don't want to win at this particular point in time. We've seen it. We've been there. We get it. She's great. She could have even gone on to win whatever event they wanted. They could have been sly about it and done something where, okay, fine, she still gets a WrestleMania event. Fine, she's still going to be at WrestleMania. She's still marquee. Cool. But did she have to do that there and then? No. Like, I want to hear it from you as well after Mike's done, where I'm like, where can you logically break this down? Like, why is it that there is no other choice than Charlotte? Sincerely.
Okay.
Hollow?
So yes, you can talk from this on an emotional aspect because we watch these women in there day in, day out. And you know, I've been critical of the female division for a long time, but for the past 5 years, I'd say it's been pretty solid. And I'd say 2023 coming up to 2025 has been the best female roster that we've had. It's not like these girls can't go. It's not like they can't main event. It's not like they haven't main event without Charlotte before. They all can, even the girls in NXT. And it was very clear when these girls were coming out who was getting pops and whatever. And it's not necessarily that you just put Alexa Bliss in the main event because she got a massive pop. But it's very clear that you don't need Charlotte to carry the main event. You don't need her there. They've been doing fine without her wrestling ability and mic-wise. From a logical standpoint, it also doesn't make any sense because the Royal Rumble, much like we saw with Jay, is used to propel talent that is on their way up. It's okay to have somebody win multiple times when it makes sense, like Cody, like Austin, like HBK, like Hogan. But it has to make sense in context. It didn't make sense for Charlotte. There's no need. There's so many more other talents that deserve that spot. And moreover, they have just introduced new championships that Charlotte can go for that doesn't impede the world title picture. That people have been like, okay, cool. She wants gold. There's gold over there she's never obtained. They've also got a TNA partnership. She can technically do a thing where they do a crossover. She becomes TNA world champion. So there's gold that she hasn't obtained that does not need to be in the main event of WrestleMania, a place she has been multiple times and already won the title 14 times. There's no logical reason to do this, but I would like to hear what you have to say to that.
Right. This isn't a personal attack on you gentlemen. Okay, let's just start with that, right? So let's just hear what I got to say. Don't take it to heart. I understand where you guys come from saying we've seen this. But what's different about this situation is we're in a Netflix audience. We now have eyes on the product for a lot of people who never watched wrestling before or haven't watched it in many, many years. No one at any point has said no one else can main event WrestleMania. That's something, a narrative, probably the internet has slapped on it. All these women, they could do it. They could do it, no doubt about it. But as far as, hey, who is this person coming out with all this aura, all the extra fireworks? Who is this? It's Charlotte Flair. 14 times. She walks, she commands greatness. She is a Flair. She is a tall, blonde American woman. As far as we go, WWE is an American company. That's literally right there, a poster child to stand next to Cody Rhodes. Now, don't get me wrong. We've had a Rhea Ripley. We've had other people's champion at works. But that right there is someone who could stand and represent the brand and be like, that's our champion right there. The reason I said I don't want to kick in Io Sky's back, right, is she has been champion. She will be champion again. I've got no doubt about that. If I put Io Sky and Charlotte next to each other in terms of who would better fit in terms of representing WWE as a, who is your champion? It's this person. You just look at them. Charlotte's going to get that ticket. I'm not kicking Io Sky's back in. I'm just saying between the two standing next to each other, you kind of know where an American company is going to go.
Okay, let me push back on that. That doesn't make any sense because of Jey Uso.
Oh, listen, I can get to the men's part in a moment. I can get to the men's part.
I'm just saying that the idea of having the tall American blonde woman and standing next to the champion doesn't make sense because they went with Jey Uso. So I could technically make the argument that Io or another woman could have won. And if you really wanted Charlotte in the main event, maybe you could do an elimination chamber thing, which I still wouldn't really like. But the Royal Rumble is usually used to propel talent into spotlight when there's an opening for it, like they did with Jay. They could have gone Cena for Netflix, right? Cena's a Hollywood star. He's massive. He's only second to The Rock. And they didn't. They went with Jay. So why would they go with Charlotte, who people clearly don't like because Twitter fucking went mental when she won? But Cena, everyone got upset.
Right. If we're going to transition to the part of the men's rumble, which you've opened that door now, for Jey Uso, who has had a lot of standout moments this year outside of wrestling in that he's been standing next to some of the most popular artists in terms of music, a Travis Scott, a Lil Uzi, Quavo. Like, he's now transcending the barrier of, he's not just wrestling, he's now kind of, I don't want to say he's bigger than that, but he's getting there because of who he's next to, and the people are going to say, oh, who is that? Couple that with, okay, worked really hard, no injuries, Jey Uso himself, I agree. The Royal Rumble, in most cases, some cases, is used to propel a talent who's really worked their ass off. Great, here is your moment. But it's not always that. If we talk about right now, the representative for WWE is Cody Rhodes. Tall, blonde, American. So if it happens to be Cody standing next to Charlotte, that's right there, your all-American white, representative. Jey Uso winning the title, he might be going for the World Heavyweight Championship, which, let's call a spade, isn't the most, it's not the number one title. We would love to say it's next to each other, but it's not. Cody's, the World Championship is just a tiny bit higher. And from what we've heard so far, it sounds like Jey is going to challenge Gunther for WrestleMania. Hey, things could change from now. Charlotte might not win the title. It could turn into a fatal four-way. Anything can happen between now and WrestleMania that turns into a huge main event. We don't know what the narrative is going to be. I'm not mad at you guys for saying you're tired of seeing Charlotte. I can see it from the perspective of someone who doesn't watch wrestling. Who is this person? Okay, whatever. At the same time, I also understand Twitter going crazy about why this. It got people talking. It got people clicking. It got people maybe not liking. People are supposed to vote with their wallet if they don't like something. But I think we're still going to watch, because then that becomes, I want Charlotte to lose at that level. It sounds like it won't happen. And I can understand you guys saying that. The odds are low, but never zero.
I'm not watching it. Unless her match is against somebody that I care about, I'm going to the toilet and I'll catch the highlights.
So
like, same with Logan.
I'm not going to treat it like a toilet break. Like, yeah, I don't like her at all at this point. I'll be real, but I'm not going to treat it like a toilet break. It's not going to be something that's a genuine eyesore to me. At the same time, it's just the fact that this is the one thing I did not want to happen. As before, the whole predictions, before I even named the one, I just did not want this one particular thing to happen, right? I've repeated it myself multiple times. I'm not going to say I'm not going to watch it, but it's just like, good Lord, can we just not have someone be crushed underneath Charlotte's whole... You know what? I'll say this, right? Mm-hmm. For me, personally, it's becoming really hard to suspend my disbelief and reality stuff. Like, this would be a lot more easier to digest if it was the fact of, okay, listen, this is sports. It's not predetermined. It's not this, it's not that. It's just someone being so genuinely amazing at what they do, and it's undeniable. Sorry, we're not at that point. We understand that this stuff is predetermined. We understand that ultimately it's a business decision. It's a choice. It's who we think is the best person. All of the time, without there being enough suspense, is it, oh, it's Charlotte? Okay, cool. Number 30, Nikki Bella. As I said to Mike, we're cooked. We're fucked. As soon as it was 30, it was, okay, it's not Becky. Cool. All right, cool. That's it. We're done. It's over. Like, holy crap. Like, I want there to be some form of like, build everyone else up before we just keep crushing everyone under the weight of this one name every single time. It is genuinely jarring, but that's
just as many times she has won, she has also lost. Her coming into the roster as a main event star doesn't suddenly diminish the other main event women. It's going to be a challenge beating her, and it's a real big stamp on your name to say you did this. Like when Rhea won, that was a huge WrestleMania. You toppled Charlotte. She's top of the mountain.
No, let's not forget what Charlotte did to Asuka. Okay, now from what I understand of these nepotism babies and these kids that come from wrestling families, is that there is a certain level of pushing your weight around. Asuka tapping out at Mania to Flair was a travesty, and I will never forget that. And a lot of the time when these things happen, like we've heard of Hogan, the politicking, I am not going to be surprised if Flair used her politics to get into this spot in the Royal Rumble and then go into WrestleMania. Because given the depth of the roster that they have for the women, it just doesn't make sense to take somebody that has won the world title 14 times and put them in the main event of WrestleMania against either Tiffy or Rhea, two people that are actually on the up and up that they want to see there. Everybody wants to see Rhea versus Io. And Tiffy does not deserve to go down to Charlotte. If Charlotte's going to face her, she should take the L to Charlotte. She should take the L to Tiffy, in my opinion.
Let's go back. You said everyone wants to see what matchup?
Rhea versus Io. Go on Twitter and type in Rhea versus Io. That's the match people are. I was reading the Twitter responses. I was on the Royal Rumble hashtag. I was chatting to Miller at the time. Charlotte winning that match took us so out of the Rumble for like an hour that the Motor City Machine Gun match literally went over my head. I didn't pay attention to the Street
It was
Profits.
rough, man. It was a real downer. If it wasn't for the men's rumble, honestly, I would have went to sleep feeling real shit.
If you guys hadn't watched WWE as much as you had and you saw this for the first time, you wouldn't feel this way. You're like, oh, that person won. Cool.
Yeah.
But
That's
you
absolutely
guys are
fine. But unfortunately, that's not reality. That's
a
not our reality we live in.
You-
That's not our reality we live in. Like
That is a Vince McMahon remark.
no, stop. We're in a reality where long-term storytelling, as well as quite frankly, being a fan is being more rewarded than ever. We can't be doing this whole thing where we keep doing, oh well, listen, man, you guys are new, you're not new to the product, so therefore it's not as meaningful for you when it comes to a newer person. We're not doing that. I hear you, but I'm also like, nah, that's not the reality that either of us live in. We live in a reality where I had to be like, listen, okay, I'll ask this. If you really wanted to ruin our night, why not keep Charlotte surprised? No, why not keep Charlotte's entry a surprise for that night? At least soften the blow.
There was no need to advertise it. Also, I just want to point out that what Levi just said was a very, very Vince McMahon thing to say. You weren't watching the product.
Bad things today, but anyway.
Yeah, that was a Vince McMahon statement. As people that have been watching the product and investing in the women there, to have somebody come in and just win who has done nothing for almost a year and a half now is insane to me. Like, it's what are you? Like CM Punk said, this is very much a business of what are you doing for me right now. We've been watching the product going into the Netflix era, investing in these people. To have somebody come in from, let's face it, the Vince McMahon era. Charlotte Flair is a Vince McMahon project, and she's come in and taken over again. And rest assured, she's gonna make Tiffy tap at WrestleMania. She's not gonna pin her. She's gonna make her tap out. She's gonna make herself look great. You watch the post-match press conference. Again, she's in there with her head firmly up her own ass, talking about that she's the best thing that's ever graced the women's division, which in my opinion, she's not. I think she's a great wrestler, but being a WWE superstar is more than just being good in the ring. Otherwise, Lance Storm would have been over as hell. Like, it's not like Charlotte is not this big commodity that I think they're making her out to be. And what I hope happens is I hope she comes out on Raw or SmackDown and the fans just absolutely wreck the show and boo her out of the building. And every time Io or Roxanne or whoever comes out, start a whole yes movement stuff. Like, do whatever you need to do, hijack that main event.
So real talk, B&B have like partially spoken about this. I don't think it'll get to that point. I would not mind if it did, but I don't think it's going to get to that level of like booking, I guess. I don't think it's going to get to that point. I don't.
Gentlemen, take a step back. Look what you just did. JMiller asked you a question. Mike says something. JMiller, you want me to give you answers, but you two aren't opening your heart to hear those answers. You're willing to hear each other. Here's the reality. We are here now. Charlotte has for many, many years proven her worth. You can say she's a Vince McMahon thing. I would argue, hey, Triple H just as much respect for Flair as Vince.
I've been saying that this whole time, by the way, but carry on.
Right. Io Sky, she's going to get that opportunity. The other girls are going to get that opportunity. All Charlotte has done is return after a year, and we're suddenly discounting everything else she's done before then in NXT and say she doesn't deserve it, she doesn't deserve it. She's won this many times, she doesn't need it again. And I'm like, we've got so many decorated over and over champions, like there is no such thing as you don't suddenly deserve it because you've done it this many times. Hey, we don't know between now and WrestleMania what's going to happen, what the event's going to be. Has Charlotte stepped on anyone? We don't know. Slow down.
She already has. She's won the Rumble twice now. She didn't need to.
By winning the Rumble, it just means at some point she's getting a championship match. That doesn't mean between then and now, no other women are going to get that opportunity as well. We know Elimination Chamber's coming up. We know there's going to be other sudden, you know what? Saturday night's main event, let's do it. That woman gets out there. She might lose the match, but suddenly the guys at the back are like, oh, I think we're onto something here. Let's get her versus Charlotte if Charlotte wins down the line. The same way how we saw Jey Uso versus Gunther and people really liked that Saturday night's main event. That might have been a really pivotal decision. I don't really know. I don't know the dirt sheets. I don't know anything behind closed doors. But with how well that match and Saturday night's main event went and that really close 2 out of 3 count for Jey Uso, that the whole crowd was like, oh my God, that might have been the, hold on, what if we put Jay winning the Rumble, because let's face it, everyone across the board said CM Punk. We all saw with how the story was going. That makes the most sense. And when CM Punk got eliminated, I was like, oh, I don't know who's going to win here. When Jay won, I'm like, no one predicted that. But now that I look back at it, a lot of it makes sense. Just the way the crowd, just when he comes out, the crowd is awake. The merch sales are ridiculous. Just him next to these big names. Jay made sense to me. But story-wise, I thought CM Punk, even a Roman Reigns. There were so many other names that make sense in that I never considered Jay, and that's a crime. In itself, you could argue the same thing with the women, and I could agree with you there. Again, this is just one part of what's going to happen. Eventually, Charlotte might win it, or she's going to lose it. Someone else is going to come up. Whoever gets the rub of Charlotte to pin her, they get stratosphere, rocket put to their back. They're going crazy. Don't think it's over. We're not going to get a 500-day Charlotte run. I think we're past that world of Charlotte is that damn good, but it's not going to be a Roman Reigns bloodline, etc. It's going to be she has the title for a bit, she puts prestige on it, rubs it up nice and nice for Netflix. Someone comes along, pins her. Oh, you are that shit now. Not in a bad way, but in a good way. Rhea got it. Someone else is going to get it. Giving Charlotte the title just means whoever pins Charlotte is the next big thing. That's the way I'm seeing it right now.
Yeah, I'm not for it. I'm just not for it. Like I see Charlotte. She's the 14-time heavyweight champion, fine, but there are other spots to give Charlotte the title and then use her to give somebody the rub. At the end of the day, a lot of these guys, their dream is to get to WrestleMania and main event for a world championship, and she has essentially taken that away. So she's gonna when the history books look back on this, we're gonna see Charlotte Flair wins her 15th world title at WrestleMania. And you might say, okay, well, they're going to use her to give Tiffy the rub to really legitimize or whoever decides to beat her. But I'm just looking at it for wrestling is about its moments a lot of the time. A lot of the time, people don't remember the match. They remember Hogan slamming Andre. They don't remember the match. They remember the NWO being formed. They don't really remember the match. They remember, DX shooting a promo that was outlandish, like they were parodying the president or whatever. They don't remember the entire thing. What's going to be remembered is Charlotte making Tiffy tap out at Mania. And that's what I think is going to happen. And I'm not for it. Like, I think we have too much talent that can help each other get over and tell classic stories together without this person that has already dominated the scene for ages. It's completely unnecessary.
Do you feel like, because you've said Charlotte, Tiffy, that's what you feel like is going to be WrestleMania? Between now and April, Tiffy's going to hold on to that title.
Yeah.
Why have we dismissed
Charlotte is not going for the world title. She's going to go for that WWE. That's the title. That's the marquee title. That's the one that is at the front of TKO. Flair is going to want that WWE championship. And I don't think that I think they're gonna go Rhea Io. I was watching some stuff earlier, and it feels like they're really gonna push Io in that direction. That's just my opinion, but yeah, I think they're gonna want Tiffy, like you said, the pretty blonde, all-American looking girl, and Charlotte Flair, and I think she's gonna have a tap out.
Sorry, Jay, go on.
I still feel like there is enough possibility that Rhea versus Charlotte is still actually on, if I'm honest.
That's what I was going to say.
I don't think that's completely lost upon it yet. Like, I get it in terms of the whole marquee stuff, but in terms of Charlotte genuinely wanting there to not be one-on-one, it's one-to-one right now with them at WrestleMania, I think, or at least between the NXT one where Charlotte beat Rhea, then after Rhea beat her back. I would think Charlotte would want, or at least in terms of the story, right? I think that Charlotte versus Rhea makes the most sense. It is the actual star power match. I don't see why Charlotte would want to go after Tiffy, if I'm honest. Like, it doesn't really make sense to me. Like, there's no history there other than, okay, you got the title, easier title, I guess. But Charlotte's not, well, at least in terms of character, she's not the one to go after the easier title. But in terms of it just makes more sense to me that she would go after Rhea, if I'm honest. But
between Charlotte and Tiffy, Rhea and Tiffy, I feel like Rhea's bigger. Just
no, she is.
Everything about her. And even to Mike's point, saying the world championship title, technically the big one is on Tiffy right now, but that's mostly on SmackDown. was Raw Netflix. That's right. As you guys have said the other day, or the other pod we did, Raw is the number one brand right now in terms of between Raw and SmackDown, where it was kind of half and half. It feels like Raw has slipped up, gone up. Between now and then, I think Rhea might drop the title to someone, another big talent, just someone. And then you've got, hey, whoa, this is what Charlotte's going to go for. We're not going to know until the WrestleMania build-up or whatever it's called, the WrestleMania pre-thing, what she's going to pick. We don't know yet.
So, to be fair, I mean, she doesn't have to really say anything for a good while. She might not even like tell us this week. Like, they might draw out a bit, but
tell us at the very last second. It's possible. She's like, I'm going to keep my cards right up here. You'll find out when I'm ready. But overall, I heard you, internet. I've heard the comments after Mike's impromptu video yesterday. I've heard you two directly. You're not happy with the outcome. That's fine. Me personally, that was my favorite Royal Rumble of all time. Me personally, I'm not saying everyone should feel the same way. I love the Jey Uso swerve. I felt like Charlotte was going to win the return. I can understand Jay saying everything he said in regards to why say she's coming back, why not to do a surprise and whatnot. Again, sometimes you can have the anticipation of someone coming out after a long time, and you also got the surprise Alexa Bliss. No one saw that coming. That crowd went crazy.
Alexa Bliss, man, that is proof God exists, man. She came out and I was like, God damn.
And you know what? With that reaction, that told me immediately as well, Alexa winning the world title again would not be a bad decision. Either title, like she is definitely up their status. So we've got
with Alexa, you got to do Alexa versus Liv Morgan now. They've both got the Harley Quinn shit going on. I would like to see that. I'd like to see who the fans would take as the face and who they take as the heel.
I would love to see that too.
Right now, I'd probably say, well, at least with what the landscape they've built, I think could be Alexa face. Yeah.
You know, I had this crazy thought. Jade, who didn't show up, Jade versus Charlotte, would you say yes to seeing that kind of match? Jade Cargill versus Charlotte.
Yeah, I'd be happy to see that. Not a WrestleMania, but like if that was like a SummerSlam match, that would be, because they're both pretty jacked women. But that's only if you're putting Jade over. Like Jade is the new up and coming talent. I don't think Charlotte goes over her.
See, I agree with you there. Go on, Jay.
So, this might come across as bad or whatever. It's not that I wouldn't want to see them, but I feel like if you put them two in a ring at this moment in time, I do feel like Charlotte would have the power to show up Jade pretty hard right now. That's how I feel, I'll be honest.
I can see that.
Like, obviously, it doesn't have, like, if you're going to basically really put Jade over and just put her power over, then sure. But, like, in terms of, like, a longer match or whatever, like, I think it would be a bit rough.
Someone needs to bring Jade up to that level. Yeah. So the Bailey, the Sasha Banks, the Becky, the Charlotte, who can have a really long match and from start to finish entertaining, let's get Jade up there. So I can understand in the ring, Charlotte's going to really push your button and say, hey, can you go one-on-one with me on a long match and still make it entertaining? Because if you can't, everyone in the back's going to be like, all right, we tried, whatever. But I've got confidence Jade can get to that level. She's got.
It's one of those things that I think like I'd rather them save Jade and Charlotte for a point where like it's undeniable she's more than ready to do it and like look amazing as well. Like obviously she looks amazing visually, all that stuff. I don't mean that. I just mean to the point where there's no like she's compromised. Oh no, like this is embarrassing. Oh no, this is like I actually like Jade. So like I want her to look amazing when that time was to come. I just don't think it's yet, personally.
It's not yet. But the only reason I thought of that is because throughout the Rumble, we saw a lot of moments of this person standing next to this person. Do we get the people feeding into it? Anyone you put next to Jacob, everyone's immediately like, oh boy, Braun Breaker, Roman Reigns, friggin' other muscle. Just anyone you put next to Jacob, Braun Strowman, obviously, anyone. And I'm thinking to myself, you said Alexa versus Liv. That's a dream matchup we haven't really seen before, but that's, you know, they've kind of got that gimmick going on between the two. We've seen Jade stand next to Bianca when Jade first showed up, and we thought, yeah, we'd love to see that. And then I started thinking to myself, Charlotte versus Jade, yeah, I'd love to see that. Jade, Roxanne, I'd love to. Just there's so much talent in the women's roster. I'm like, Charlotte, who's pretty much at the top, who would I like to see her against? That would actually be entertaining. Have we actually had a Charlotte versus Io Sky yet?
No. Not that
And I
remember.
don't think you'd want that because you'd feel like that would get stepped on.
Yeah, I don't want to like listen, man. You disrespect my babes, Io Sky, we're gonna have problems. Charlotte's already she's already in the doghouse with me. If she beats Io Sky, I'm gonna be furious.
And we damn well know that's what would happen right now. Let's keep it honest.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Can I ask you on this question, Mike?
Last
Heart-to-heart
question. I
question.
gotta go.
All right, last question. Do you think Io Sky is a spot monkey?
No.
Okay.
Why do you ask that?
I understand where you're coming from, right? Now, you know, we can say that for the next episode, innit? We can say that for the next episode. Is Io Sky a spot monkey?
Yeah, that question in itself is disrespectful. But no, if you've been watching Io Sky anytime, whether she's been, I think her name was Midnight Bliss at one point or whatever, you know that she can go, and she's definitely one of the toughest women on the roster. When she was in, I think Lucha Underground, she was doing crazy work. So the fact that you would even say that is unacceptable. You're a Charlotte fan anyway, so you can get your ass on out of here. I have nothing to say to you. You and people like you are the reason why we are going to have a WrestleMania.
I didn't say she was. I asked a question.
It is unacceptable to even fathom the idea that
that's what he's doing with that one.
Listen, I want to leave you with one little thought, and we can cut it off here. For 2 years in a row, Io's put a bin on her head and jumped off the cage. I want to leave that thought. That's 2 years in a row. If I see it for a third year in a row, it's not going to be a question anymore. It's going to be a statement. And with that being said,
I'm going to put it on your head in a minute.
Charlotte would never, on her worst day, put a bin on her head and jump off a cage, man. Like, nah. So, Io, I love her. She can go. She's tight. She's awesome. She's just the way she's been booked like that 2 years in a row. It's becoming a thing that, oh, she's the girl who does that thing. I don't want her to have that moment. I don't want her to know she's the girl who puts a bin on her head and does this. I want her to be known as that dominant foreign champion. That's what I want. Okay? We'll
get back to this.
We'll get back to this.